Mr. Pavarotti is an Italian. He speak like this. Do I speak like this? No. Why? Because I am an Englishman, you blistering idiot!
Hello everyone, I'm Matt Mitrovich, the alternate historian, and welcome back to ReSliders, my retrospective on the cheesy 1990s alternate history TV show, Sliders. And sorry for the long delay between episodes, and doubly sorry that my return involves looking at The King is Back, an overly dull and repetitive entry to Sliders. Our story begins with Quinn in jail. He's being tried for graffiti done by his doppelganger and is given the death penalty because in this timeline, they are in America where something called the Instant Justice Initiative not only took away the appeals process, but also punishes minor crimes with execution. I feel like this was an attempt to satirize the law and order policies that were popular in America during the 1990s, which could have been an interesting exploration on the policing and justice in America, but alas, we are only in this timeline briefly. When the timer goes off, the sliders easily escape thanks to the power of punching and thus slide to the next Earth. In this new Earth, we see many people recognize Rembrandt, and we learn why through perhaps the worst info dump I ever saw on television.
You here for the convention, right? You know, the Crying Man convention at the Oakland Hilton. All the top Rembrandt impersonators are gathering there. I saw it on the news.
Come on, Sliders, show don't tell. So yeah, it turns out Rembrandt is basically Elvis, and I'm not joking with that comparison. They both died relatively young. Instead of Graceland, there is Cryingland. There are Rembrandt impersonators, etc., etc. Rembrandt is also considered the king of rock and roll, which is odd because I thought he was more of a Motown act, but music must have taken a different path in this timeline. In fact, the Earth Prime website suggests Elvis never got into music in this timeline, which must have changed history enough to give Rembrandt a chance to reach this level of fame. But there isn't much evidence for this point of divergence in the episode proper. But whatever, that isn't even the biggest issue I have with this Earth. Say, do you all remember the last episode of ReSliders, where our heroes visited a timeline where smart people are celebrities and alternate Quinn's life mirrors that of Michael Jordan? Do you remember that I'm also doing these videos in the order of when the Sliders episodes were meant to appear? That means the producers intended to do back-to-back episodes, where they just borrowed the broad outline of a celebrity's life and slapped it onto one of the Sliders. I mean, wow, Season 1 isn't even over yet, and it feels like they've ran out of ideas. Anywho, Rembrandt deduces that his doppelganger must have made some different career choices around the same time our Rembrandt left the Spitting Tops to pursue a solo career, specifically signing up with a manager named Captain Jack Brim, who shows up at the hotel they are staying at, which appears to be the same one they crashed at in Fever, given the reappearance of Will Sasso's character.
I've got tears in my fro, 'cause I'm standing on my head over you.
Regardless, Captain Jack tells Rembrandt about a concert he organized for him and says he'll be paid $1 million for every song he sings. The Sliders, desperate for cash, decide to take Captain Jack up on his offer, but as they try to leave the hotel, Rembrandt is kidnapped by one of his impersonators. Turns out, however, it's one of his former bandmates, Maurice. Recently out of the institution, Maurice is insanely jealous about the success Rembrandt had in this timeline and wants him either to publicly admit that Maurice was the real reason behind Rembrandt's success or else he will kill him. Honestly, this could have been a legit scary scene, but it seems mostly played for laughs, and frankly, I was checking my phone through most of it. Anywho, in a twist, it turns out that alternate Rembrandt faked his death, and when he discovers that someone is claiming to be him, he comes out of hiding to stop them. Fun fact, alternate Rembrandt is played by Clinton Derricks Carroll, Cleveland Derrick's twin brother. He will show up a couple more times in Sliders whenever they need Rembrandt to interact with one of his doppelgangers, and while described as identical in some sources, I'm sorry, but no. I see the family resemblance, certainly, but they don't look like mirror images of each other that everyone treats them as. But it's still neat that they can use him instead of relying on editing tricks. Back to the story. Alternate Rembrandt helps the Sliders track down Maurice. Thanks to more punching, Maurice is subdued and the two Rembrandts meet. Although Alt Rembrandt tries to warn our Rembrandt that fame isn't all it's cracked up to be, our Rembrandt admits that this is the life he always wanted. So Alt Rembrandt gives him the opportunity to take up his old life so he can quietly live in retirement. Our Rembrandt accepts the offer, and while the Sliders are not happy with his choice, they understand his desire to pursue his dreams and say their goodbyes. Rembrandt thus takes the stage and performs for his adoring fans. The Sliders watch from the wings and are soon joined by Alt Rembrandt, who wants to make sure this Rembrandt has what it takes before he rides off into the sunset. But when he learns just how much money he would make by performing, he quickly forgets his criticism of showbiz and rushes onto the stage to perform as well. After an epic music duel, the Alt Rembrandt declares our Rembrandt the greatest crying man impersonator he ever saw. The audience agrees, and thus Rembrandt sadly walks off stage after being portrayed by his greatest enemy, himself. The Sliders manage to cheer him up, and Rembrandt jumps to the next Earth with the hope that he might be an even bigger success there, but nope, on that Earth he just serves ice cream. And that is The King is Back. And yeah, there isn't much to say about this one other than it's boring. Sure, the opening had potential, and some background world building was funny, like Michael Jackson being a Public Enemy, but otherwise there just wasn't much of anything there. The story was uninspired, which is sad for a show that hasn't even finished its first season yet, and there wasn't much of an alternate history to make the setting interesting enough for me to talk about. Like, Hippie Earth was annoying, but at least it got an emotional reaction out of me. I got absolutely nothing from The King is Back, and it's so far the most skippable Sliders episode in Season 1. Let's just hope the season finale makes up for it. Well, that's all to say on the subject. If you enjoy what I do, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, support me on Patreon. I'm Matt Mitrovich, the Alternate Historian. Bye.